Welcome. You are in the lab room. I'm your host, Lou. Thank you for joining me. Thanksgiving nightcap, week 13, National Football League, the mother of all rivalries in the National Football League right now. Ravens hosting the Pittsburgh Steelers. It doesn't get much better than that, especially when this game means so much. The first time these two teams played, it didn't feel the same. It didn't feel like Ravens Steelers. It just felt awkward. Both of these teams were struggling to start the season out. The game didn't mean as much, but it still came down to the wire. Steelers finding a way to eke it out at home. And so it never lost its luster, even though it didn't feel right because the records weren't as good as they normally are. But this time around, records still aren't as good as they normally are at this juncture of the season. However, this game had huge playoff implications. It felt like an elimination game, and the two teams played it as such. And so what a dandy we had on our hands on the nightcap of our Thanksgiving triple header. And as I said earlier in the telecast that I done earlier, that the games gradually got better as the day progressed. The first game, an absolute shellacking. Lions took it to the Green Bay Packers, 30-point victory. The second game, a lot more competitive, but the Cowboys ramped it up in the second half, were able to dispose of the Raiders by 7, 31-24. In the nightcap, Steelers, Ravens, I don't like you, you don't like me, it's family business, we know each other well. This was going to be a great football game. A lot of theater, a lot of different subplots in this game. Both teams coming in at 5-6, needing this game desperately to stay in the postseason hunt for that sixth and final wild card berth in the AFC playoffs. Again, nothing's etched in stone. You win this game, and this could propel you on a winning streak that could see you come back and snatch the division away from the Cincinnati Bengals. They haven't run away with this thing yet, and they've struggled on the road. And they've got a tough one at San Diego coming up. With a win here, you get to 6-6. If Cincinnati goes on the road and loses to San Diego, they're 7-5. You're only one game back of the Cincinnati Bengals. And if you're the Baltimore Ravens, hey, you've beaten this Cincinnati team already. A win against Cincinnati in Cincinnati would give you the season sweep. If you're the Steelers, you've only played them once, but that one game was a loss in Cincinnati. So now you've got them one more time in Pittsburgh. You could split the season series with them and still do damage. So huge game for both teams, and they played it like it was an elimination game, and it was fun to watch. From the jump, this was going to be a tough game. You knew it. And it looked like the Ravens were going to run away with this one. And it was surprising because the Ravens have struggled offensively all season long. And we know all of the different things that happened in the offseason, all of the injuries that they've occurred, and what has happened to this team offensively, the lack of a running game, and the offensive line woes, and having to trade for Eugene Monroe and getting Bryant McKinney out of there. And so we know about all the struggles of the Ravens offensively. The Steelers are just starting to hit their stride offensively. Defensively, this team has been solid, but they're starting to force turnovers, something that they haven't been able to do. And now they've won 2 in a row. They've gotten their record to 5-6. And now they're looking to add to this winning streak, get it to 3, and get to 6-6. And they started this game out a little rough, did the Steelers. The Ravens really jumped on them early in this football game. And they started to establish that, hey, we're going to run away from the Steelers in this game and try to win this game and have it not be one of these nail-biters that comes down to the final minutes and final stages of the game. And for a while there, it looked like that's exactly what was going to happen in this football game. I mean, the Ravens at one point in this game were up 22-7. It just looked like this game was going to get out of control. It looked like the Ravens were going to get away. And the big talk, and it was funny. Me and my buddy had a blast. I watched this game with a buddy of mine, and we had a blast laughing at the Mike Tomlin play because I don't want to hear for one second that Mike Tomlin didn't know where he was on the field. He knew where he was. Yeah, he had been there already, and he was, in fact, watching the play unfold on the Jumbotron, on the big screen. However, he knew where he was. He had ample time to get out of the way. And I think the slow motion replay tells you all you need to know about that play as Jacoby Jones breaks off a long kickoff return after the Steelers had scored a touchdown to cut the lead to 14-22, or excuse me, 14-19. All right, the Steelers had an opportunity, or excuse me, the Ravens had an opportunity to put this game out of reach. They get a touchdown there when the score is 14-19. They get a touchdown there. This game is over. It's done. They go up 26-14. We're talking about less than 7 minutes to go in this game, less than 5 minutes. The fourth quarter is starting to dwindle down. Steelers have struggled all game to get points on the board. There's no way they're scoring 2 touchdowns in less than 6 minutes of game time. It's not happening. They're going to lose this football game. So Jacoby Jones breaks off the long return. He's coming down the sideline. Mike Tomlin is planted right in the line of duty, right there in his path to the end zone down the sidelines. And Tomlin, in the slow motion replay, you see Tomlin peeking over his shoulder to see where Jacoby Jones was and to determine when he needed to jump out of the way to kind of make him alter his path to the end zone. He could have gotten out of the way a lot sooner, but he chose to look over that shoulder, see where Jacoby Jones was, and right as he was coming toward him, he does a hop, step, jump with his foot slightly going out into the field of play, jumps out of the way, which makes Jacoby Jones not be able to keep that beeline straight for the end zone down the sidelines, but instead sees him have to veer inside just ever so slightly. And he was being chased down by Allen on the play, Cortez Allen, with a phenomenal effort to just even be in the pursuit of Jacoby Jones. Jacoby Jones is one of the fastest players in the league, especially when he gets it going on a kickoff. Normally, forget about it. You're not catching him from behind. But Cortez Allen got on his horse and never stopped. And he got a little bit of assistance from his head coach, Mike Tomlin. And he was able to wrap Jacoby Jones up from behind and bring him down. And it was a huge play in the game because, again, if that doesn't happen, if Tomlin isn't in the way, if Cortez Allen doesn't get on his horse and run him down from behind, this game's over. But instead, he gives the defense a chance to get on the field, and the Steelers are able to keep the Ravens out of the end zone, force them to settle for a field goal. It's still an 8-point game, and more importantly, you still got a shot to tie this thing up and get it into overtime and give yourself a chance to steal this game. One that you were down at one point by 12, 7-19 in this game. So if you're the Steelers, you're lucky. And yeah, maybe it's a little bit of luck and a little bit of your coach doing a little extra to help his football team. You call it what you want. The Steelers still had to come on the field and get the stop, and the Ravens still had an opportunity to get in the end zone and end this thing, and they didn't. So kudos to the Steelers defense for coming onto the field, forcing the field goal. And so now the stage is set. Steelers with the football. They get the stop that they need. They have an opportunity to drive the length of the field, get into the end zone, and the all-important 2-point conversion. Give you a quick backstory, and then we'll go and break this thing down as to how the end of the game unfolded. But I was sitting on the couch with my buddy, and I told him, I said, look, man, the football gods are not going to allow this game to go to overtime. The Steelers aren't going to tie this game because Mike Tomlin really impacted this football game. So the football gods are going to make this thing right. Essentially is what I was saying. They're going to even out the playing field on the football gods because Tomlin knew what he did. And it was funny because after they showed the replay, they showed Tomlin looking up at the replay of himself and he's laughing. So in the back of his mind, he said, I got away with one there. I got away with one, and we might come back and win this game because of it. And so the football gods had to tighten him up. He had to tighten him and the Pittsburgh Steelers up for trying to pull one over on the football gods. Look, they see everything, they know everything, and you can't get away. Even when you think you might have pulled one over on the football gods, He's not going for it. And so Mike looking over that shoulder, impacting this game, I said, they're going to get the touchdown to make this 20-22. But they're not getting in the end zone on that 2-point conversion. They're going to lose this game by 2 points. The football gods will make sure of it. So, sure enough, Ben Roethlisberger comes out and in Ben Roethlisberger fashion takes his team all the way down the field. They get inside the 5. And this was a wacky sequence of events because they score about 3 times on this possession. On first down, they get in the end zone, but they're called for a penalty. Or excuse me, they think they get in the end zone, replay overturns the play, and so it's not a touchdown. So they're still at the 1 yard line after a huge play to Antonio Brown. So you're thinking to yourself, or excuse me, Heath Miller is tackled. I believe Heath Miller gets tackled at the 1 yard line. Either Heath Miller gets tackled or Antonio Brown catches a ball. You think he gets in, he doesn't get in. Either way, it was a touchdown, then it wasn't a touchdown. So they think they've got the score at 20-22. And they replay it. It's not a touchdown. They're back at the half-yard line. I'm saying, hey, sneak it at this point. Sneak it, get in, get it over with, figure out what you're going to do for the 2-point conversion. But no, they decide to run the football. And this is the football gods sort of giving them the indication that, hey, we're going to make this tough on you, and we haven't forgotten how the game got to this point. This game could easily be over, but the reason this game is where it is because your coach had a hand in the Ravens not getting in the end zone, and so we're going to make you work for this touchdown. You're not getting this touchdown nice and easy. So they take that first touchdown off the board. Replay overturns it. It's not a touchdown. So they come back. They run it on second down with Le'Veon Bell. And he gets stopped. Or, excuse me, he gets in the end zone. But this is a crazy play. The helmet comes off. He's out cold. His head hits the ground. His arms lock up. Jimmy Smith, the guy that hit him on the play, is out cold. His arms lock up. Everybody's knocked out. Ball crosses the plane. His helmet goes flying, does Le'Veon Bell's, but it's a touchdown. It's 20-22. Now everybody's, concern switches from the game to the status and health of these guys. No one wants to see anybody get hurt. This is a tough rivalry, but one that is a respectful one. And so nobody wants to see anybody get hurt. And Le'Veon Bell is laying motionless on the field. Helmet is off. Jimmy Smith, not that far away from him, maybe a yard and a half away from him, is unconscious himself. Jimmy Smith sits up. He gets up. He's wobbly. He's all over the place. They're walking him off to the sideline. Le'Veon Bell, about 30 seconds later, sits up. He gets up, and they got to help him gingerly off the field. But then Al Michaels drops a bombshell on us. He says, hey, wait a minute now, because I'm saying, hey, I've seen this replay 4 times already. The ball clearly crosses the plane in possession of Le'Veon Bell's arms, even though he's out cold. He's got the ball clutched in his grasp like this. He falls backward. His head hits the ground. Then the ball comes loose, and it's a touchdown already. None of that other stuff matters. It's a touchdown. Then Al drops a bombshell on us because I didn't know this rule. He said, and this is the Jason Witten rule, if you remember, from about 3 or 4 years ago. Jason Witten catches a pass. His helmet comes off, and he keeps running. And he picks up about another 25 yards on the play. And it's hard because you don't want a guy running without his helmet on with guys who have helmets on. Then their helmets become a deadly weapon at that point. So in order to just stop all of that, they made the Jason Witten rule, which says when your helmet comes off, play's done. It's dead where that player's helmet comes off. The ball is where it is when that player's helmet comes off of his head. And so once Le'Veon Bell's lid came off of his head, play's done. No matter what happens, play's done. And so his helmet flies off of his head at the half-yard line, the same place where they had marked the ball back just 2 plays ago when they thought that the Steelers had gotten in. So all of a sudden, it's not a touchdown. But the referees had already confirmed the touchdown. They had already told Mike Tomlin, it was a score, and they had the ball marked and ready for the 2-point conversion, then all of a sudden, the NFL official that has the blue jacket on runs onto the field and says, hey, stop play. No, we got to look at this thing. His helmet came off. The ball should be wherever he was when the helmet comes off. So the officials say, hey, we got to take a look at this. They stop play again, and they say, hey, no touchdown. Ball is going to be marked back at the half-yard line where Le'Veon Bell was and the ball was when his helmet came off. So the Steelers are like, really? You're taking another touchdown the second of this possession away from us? Yeah, they're taking it away. You got to do it again. So the football guys said, hey, they're up there having a big laugh at the Steelers' expense. Like, hey, you really thought you were going to get away that easily? No way. We're going to make you work for this touchdown. And even once you get that touchdown, you're not getting a 2-point conversion. But you don't know that. We're going to get a nice laugh out of you struggling to try to tie this game. So the Steelers try a pass on third down. They go bunch formation. They run a speed out to Will Johnson, the fullback. Really don't like throwing the ball to Will Johnson in a clutch situation with a hand in his face. Just don't trust Will Johnson. It goes through his hands. It's fourth down. All these options you've got. You've got Jericho Cotchery. You've got Emmanuel Sanders, Heath Miller, and, of course, the league leading receiver in receptions, Antonio Brown, and you throw the ball to Will Johnson. Really? Try again. So it's fourth down, last chance for the Steelers. They run a natural pick play, the play that everyone runs in the league. The slant with the outside receiver, your wide receiver is running a slant. That Z receiver in the slot is running an out. It creates a natural pick. The Ravens get confused on the coverage. It's man-to-man. They're supposed to switch on the cross. Instead, the slot guy that was covering the slot receiver goes with the slot receiver. The outside corner guy is covering the outside receiver. He knows that they're supposed to switch. He stays outside. So both receivers essentially, both defenders are essentially outside with the out route. Nobody goes with the slant because the inside slot defender was supposed to stay there and switch. He does not. Wide open Jericho Cotchery on the slant. It's a touchdown. Finally, the Steelers can rejoice and say, hey, we got in the end zone. We got half of the equation done. Now we got to find a way to get this 2-point conversion. And so it's 22-20, Ravens clinging to a 2-point lead. We're under a minute left in this game. And we're just over a minute left in this game. And if you're the Steelers, even if you tie this game, you're giving the football back to Joe Cool. And you know how he is in the clutch. He's done this to the Steelers plenty of times. And he has no problem driving his team down the field for a last-second field goal to win this game. But that's not necessary. Steelers go out. They run a back shoulder fade to Emmanuel Sanders. Perfectly thrown football. Goes right through his arms. I thought he caught it. Initially, I thought he caught it. I thought the football gods let them get away, made them struggle for the touchdown, and that was their way of punishing them. But no, I said, no way. The football guys normally don't let you off that easy, okay? No way he catches that football, but it looked like he had caught it. You couldn't see from the angle that we were given on the field that he had dropped it. But I saw a Ravens media guy standing behind the play, waving his arms incomplete feverishly. So that kind of gave me an indication that he had dropped the football. Then I looked at the official. He was patting the ground, waving no catch, so I knew he didn't come down with it. Now, you could argue that Corey Graham was face guarding on the play and that it was pass interference. But to me, there was no contact. And Emmanuel Sanders saw the ball and had a chance to catch it. If he would have contacted him with the face guarding, because he never looked for the football, he was absolutely face guarding. If he would have made contact, which he didn't, with Emmanuel Sanders, then yeah, you got to call the pass interference. You got to throw the flag, and you got to give them another opportunity. But because there was no contact with the face guarding, and Emmanuel Sanders should have caught the football, I think they decided to just have that be a no call. I thought that was a great decision on the part of the officials. Let these guys decide the game out on the field. Don't be the official that throws the flag that decides this game. Let the players on the field decide the outcome. Emmanuel Sanders should have caught the football. It was a well-thrown football, perfectly placed, He just didn't come down with it. Ravens take over. Now the all-important onside kick. It doesn't go 10 yards. It goes out of bounds. Ravens are smart on this play not to even touch it. It was actually a really good kick by Sean Sweezum. He lines up as if he's going to kick it to the left. He fakes it to the left, then acts as if he's kicking it to the right, only to come back to the left, kicks it, but it goes out of bounds. And so I thought it was a really good setup, but it was bad execution as it went out of bounds before going 10 yards. And the Ravens smartly don't touch it. They simply do not touch it. It goes out of bounds. Ravens football. They take the knees. They get the win. 22-20. What a football game. Steelers, Ravens is what we've come to expect out of these two teams. Nothing but the best. Nothing but a game that is decided in the final stages by 3 points or less or a touchdown or less. That's what you get out of Ravens. Steelers, and this game did not disappoint. And it was a great way to cap off your Thanksgiving evening because, again, the games got better as the day wore on. And this one really put a cherry on top of our Thanksgiving football viewing for week number 13 in the National Football League. So we get the week kick-started with some great football. Steelers-Ravens caps it off. And I was able to go 3-0 in my picks on Thursday. So all the home teams took care of business on Thursday. And so the Ravens get a huge win. They're now 6-6. And they're now implanted in the 6th seed in the AFC playoffs. If the playoffs started today, of course, they would be your 6th seed. But again, no one else has played in week 13 that has a chance to take that position away from the Ravens. So all the Ravens can do is wait and see what everyone else does. But again, the season's not over for another 4 weeks. If you're the Ravens, you just got to play football, win as many games as you can, put yourself in a position to try to win that 6th and final wild card spot. But if you're the Ravens, you still got your eyes set on the division. Hey, this Cincinnati Bengals team has had every opportunity to run away with this division, and they have not. So if you're the Ravens, you're thinking to yourself, you don't want this division, do you? You don't want this. Hey, if you don't want it, don't let it go to waste. Give it to us. We'll take it. So it's up to Cincinnati to put this division away. Go out on the road and prove that you can get it done on the road because Cincinnati has struggled all season on the road. They got a tough one in San Diego. If they can't get that one, they'll fall to 7-5 and only be a game up on the Baltimore Ravens. And keep in mind, the Baltimore Ravens have already beaten this Cincinnati Bengals team. They have one more match against them in Cincinnati. So if you're Baltimore, there's a golden opportunity for you to still come back and steal this division and take what's rightfully yours, and that's the AFC North crown. So the wild card is nice, but you still got your eyes set on stealing this division. And so this win gives you that opportunity to really realize that, hey, we're not out of this thing yet in the division. It's up to Cincinnati to put them away, but it's a huge win for the Ravens. Not only gives them life in the division, it gives them an opportunity to really put themselves in a great position to take one or the other, the division or this final wild card spot. This was essentially an elimination game, and although the Steelers aren't eliminated, they're only a game back of this Ravens team at 5-7. Again, every loss that you have down the stretch is one of these wild card teams. It shortens your chances of getting a ticket to the dance. And so every game becomes that much more important, and this was one that the Steelers really needed to get. They tried, they gave it a run, but it just wasn't meant to be. Even with Mike Tomlin trying to help his football team, it wasn't enough. As the Ravens get it done, 22-20 to split. Seems like these two teams split every year. And my man DJ, me and him were talking earlier in the week, and DJ was saying, hey, we always split. I feel like we can get this one at home. And you were right, DJ. You guys got it done, and now you're 6-6. And you've got a shot to rectify this season that once looked like it was lost in Baltimore. So, big, huge win for the Ravens. They're 6-6. Tough loss for the Steelers. They're not done, but this one is a debilitating loss. Puts them down to 5-7. But they still got a shot. They're playing better football. We'll see how the Steelers are able to rebound and rally from this loss. But they're 5-7, and they've got a lot of work to do to get themselves back in a position to get into the postseason as the wild card in the AFC. So that's going to do it for this Thursday edition of In the Lab Room, Thanksgiving style. I've broken down all of the Thanksgiving matchups, so thank you for joining me. That happens in the National Football League, whether big or small. We cover it all here in the Lab Room. That's all I have for you today. I'll see you on Friday when I come back with my Pick'em Weekly, and we continue to break everything down. I'll see you on Friday. Enjoy the rest of your day. Have a good one.